So today we're going to going to review incrementing and decrementing variables. So there are a couple ways you can do it. The most simple way you can increment and decrement a variable is simply setting that variable equal to itself and then adding one. So let's go ahead and declare integer. We'll call it num, and we'll just say num is equal to num plus one, and that's totally legal and okay. But the the problem with doing something like this, and then also we need to initialize the variable, say equal to zero, and or we could have more succinctly done it like this. But the problem is with this, it is extremely space intensive. You know, you're not going to this is a clumsy way of writing this out. You could definitely um, use the unary operator. Um, num is plus equal one, and that solves for that solves for all your issues. That's the same as saying num is equal to num plus one. Literally the same. Literally the same thing, right? But and we can see that by simply typing out system.out print line, and they want to print the value of num, right? And we'll run this program, and it'll pop up in the console. It goes from 0 to 1, and that's fine. But Java provides more another way of incrementing or decrementing a variable, and decrementing is exactly that: is taking away, and then you run this program again, and the value is -1. But uh, you can do something like this, plus plus, right? And that's the same thing as adding one, as you can see here if you run it again, or minus minus, right? Run this again, -1. But also the placement of this negative and plus matters. So really, in a statement like this, it doesn't matter num negative uh, decrements it after. If you do it beforehand, the number is decremented first. This is important when you go into loops, and we'll talk about loops in uh, the next lesson. So let's write a simple program that uses this this technique that we just learned. Say we want to use this program to keep track of how many students we have. So let's uh, let's erase this line and make this num variable a bit more descriptive. We'll call this student count, and student count we'll keep it as an integer since you can't have partial amounts of students, so it won't be a double. So you have whole students, and you want to say we already initialized student count to 0, and we want to say we'll also create a string object. We'll call string object student name, and um, we'll initialize this student name, and we'll say it's equal to Mark. Student name is equal to Mark, and then we'll also um, we'll also use student. We'll also use student name again below this print line, and we'll set student name equal to Mary. And we'll use another system out here. Print line, and we want to print student name. But we want to have numbers next to student name. Want to say, hey, Mark is student number 1, Mary is student number 2. We can simply use the variable student count and say student count plus plus, and then put in student count, and then we want a plus sign here, plus, and then we'll give it a space, and then we want to say plus student name, and then we'll add in a new line here as well, or it's not really necessary since it'll print out the new line, and then we'll do the same here, and then and then we'll add student count, and then we'll plus plus, and we'll do the same here. Student name. And we'll go ahead and run this program, so it should, add 1 from student count. It'll make student count 1, print it out here. Student count 2 after we input what student name should be, and actually should be student count here, and this should have bugged me from the beginning to tab all this over. And we'll go ahead and run this program. So 1 Mark, 2 Mary. So there is a better way we can make a list sort of like this, or formatted like this, and that's using decision loops or loop structures. And in the next lesson, we'll talk about while loops, and the lesson after that, do while loops, and then finally for loops. So and all those loops are really good at certain things and not so much other things, but they build on the concepts we learned in module 3 when it came to decision structures, and it's a very powerful tool that you can use to do a lot of things in Java, but ultimately we're going to get to the point where we can read and write a file, a text file in Java using these loops.